Level 1. The kitchen servant. You first see her behind the palace kitchens, where no one important ever looks. Before sunrise, the air is already thick with smoke, wet ash, boiling water, and the sharp smell of ginger crushed beneath a kitchen knife. You are only a low male servant, a pair of hands for the fires, the buckets, the dirty trays, the heavy wooden barrels. Your robe smells of oil and damp straw. Your palms are rough from carrying water across stone floors that never fully dry. No one asks your name unless they need someone to blame. That is how low you are. Not low enough to be pitied, only low enough to be replaced. Beyond the kitchen wall, the inner palace wakes behind red gates and silk curtains. Concubines will be dressed. Noble ladies will be perfumed. The emperor's breakfast will be carried on lacquered trays. But here, behind the beauty, servants cough in the smoke and scrape burnt rice from copper pots. Then you notice her at the washing stones. She is younger than most of the laundry women, kneeling beside a wooden basin, her hands deep in cold grey water. White silk twists between her fingers like something alive. Another maid snaps at her for moving too slowly. A kitchen steward laughs and calls her useless. She lowers her head, says nothing, and keeps washing at first. You think she is afraid, then she looks up, only for a moment. Her eyes pass over the courtyard, the kitchen door, the steward's belt, the noble robes hanging from a pole, the path toward the inner chambers. She is not looking for kindness. She is counting exits, counting habits, counting weaknesses. You carry a bucket past her and see her fingers, red from the cold, tighten around the silk without tearing it. That is when you understand something you cannot explain yet. This girl is not surviving because she is weak. She is surviving because she is patient. And in a palace where every powerful woman once began as someone unseen, patience can be more dangerous than beauty. Level 2, the washer girl. The next days teach you that the laundry yard is another kind of archive. The palace keeps its official secrets in locked rooms, under seals and carved boxes, but its private secrets arrive here soaked in sweat, perfume, medicine, and fear. You carry hot water from the kitchen to the washing stones before dawn, pretending not to notice which robes belong to which mistress. The older laundry women scrub quickly and curse softly. They know which stains can be removed, which stains must be hidden, and which stains mean someone may not live through the week. She works among them without complaint. The washer girl, the one with quiet eyes and red hands. She never asks questions aloud, but she studies everything. Lipstick on a sleeve, torn embroidery near a collar, a trace of bitter medicine soaked into pale silk. You begin leaving her the warmer water when no one is watching. She never thanks you. Gratitude is dangerous here. It creates a debt, and debt creates a trail. One morning, a robe from a low-ranking concubine arrives folded too neatly. The fabric is ivory, almost plain, but the inner cuff carries a faint yellow mark. The other women ignore it. She does not. She lifts the cloth to the steam, breathes once, and her face becomes still. "Do not wash this yet," she says. Her voice is low enough that only you hear. "Why?" you ask. She looks toward the inner gate, where a senior maid is arguing with a kitchen steward. "Because someone wants the stain gone before anyone asks why she fell ill." Your fingers tighten around the bucket handle. In the palace, sickness is never just sickness when it touches a woman near the emperor. By evening, the concubine servants come asking whether the robe has been cleaned. The washer girl bows, offers a harmless excuse, and hides the stained cuff beneath a pile of old linen. That night, she gives you the smallest piece of thread from the cuff and tells you to place it near the medicine room door before sunrise. "Why me?" you ask. For the first time she almost smiles, because no one remembers your face either. That is when you realize the two of you are not invisible in the same way anymore. You are becoming useful to each other. And in the lower palace, usefulness is the first step toward danger. Level 3, her quiet eyes by the end of the first week. You begin to understand that she remembers everything. Not loudly. Not in a way that makes people fear her yet. She remembers the steward who mocks her but steals sesame oil from the kitchen jars. She remembers the senior maid who smiles at a concubine in daylight and sends rumors about her by dusk. She remembers which guards drink too much, which servants gamble, which laundry baskets arrive from rooms they should never have entered. You help her move folded robes from the washing yard to the drying hall, passing through back corridors where the palace shows its true face. Cracked stone, damp walls, servants carrying secrets in silence. She walks beside you with her eyes lowered, but you know she is watching everything. One grey morning, a female officer hurries through the courtyard with a stack of assignment papers pressed to her chest. A gust of wind catches one sheet and sends it sliding across the wet floor. Before anyone notices, the washer girl steps on the edge of it, bends as if to adjust her shoe, and reads the names in a single breath. You stand close enough to see only lines and seals. She sees opportunity later, behind hanging silk. She tells you what the paper said. A maid from the West Chamber has been dismissed. A low concubine needs 2 new attendants. One opening is temporary, small, almost insulting, but it leads beyond the laundry yard. You want that place, you say. No, she replies, wringing water from a sleeve. I want the room behind it. That answer stays with you all day. Most servants dream of less work, warmer food, a softer mat. She dreams in distances, one gate deeper, one corridor closer, one woman higher. That evening, you distract the kitchen steward long enough for her name to be added to the list of available maids. It is a small crime, almost nothing. A changed mark, a delayed delivery, a paper placed where the right woman will see it. But when she passes you later with a basket of folded silk, she does not thank you. She only looks at you once, calm and unreadable. In that look, you feel the first thread tie between you. Not love yet, not loyalty. Something more dangerous, a shared secret small enough to hide, and large enough to begin changing both your lives. Level 4, the first favor her transfer happens quietly, which is the only way anything dangerous survives in the palace. By the next morning, she is no longer kneeling at the washing stones. She is carrying folded linen through the lower inner corridor. Eyes lowered, steps measured, still dressed like a servant. No one needs to fear. But you see the change. The laundry yard was a cage made of cold water and rough hands. This new corridor has silk curtains, painted screens, warmer lamps, and women who smile with their mouths while measuring one another with their eyes. You are sent from the kitchen with a tea tray meant for a forgotten concubine in the West Chamber, a woman too low to command respect, and too close to the Emperor's memory to be ignored completely. The washer girl meets you near the side hall, but now she speaks as if the plan already exists. The tea is late, she says. Only because the steward delayed it, you answer. She glances at the covered cup. Good, then when it arrives warm, she will remember who cared enough to fix another person's mistake. You understand, this is not kindness, it is placement. A small favor sent at the correct moment to a woman hungry for proof that someone still sees her. You carry the tray while she adjusts the cup, adds a slice of ginger, and places one clean handkerchief beside it. Nothing grand, nothing that can be accused. But when the forgotten concubine receives it, her tired face changes, not because of the tea, but because the washer girl has remembered the exact scent she prefers. Later, the concubine calls for her again. Then again. By sunset, the girl from the laundry yard has become useful to a woman inside the harem. You should be glad. Instead, you feel the first shadow of fear, because the palace does not punish ambition when it begins. It waits until ambition has something to lose. That night, as you pass her in the corridor, she murmurs, "One day, people will think I rose because someone favored me." Her eyes remain lowered. They will not see the trays, the stains, the timing, the doors. You ask, and what will they see? This time, she does smile. Whatever I need them to see. And you realize her first favor was never about tea. It was the first step in teaching the palace to misread her. Level 5, Hidden Alliance. By the time the forgotten concubine begins asking for the washer girl by name, the palace has already started to change around her. Not loudly. Never loudly. A woman rises here first, through small conveniences, a warmer tea, a missing ribbon found before anyone panics, a rumor delayed until it loses its teeth. You are still only a kitchen servant, but now you carry more than trays. A folded note, hidden beneath a stack of napkins. A message tucked inside a bundle of mended sleeves. A warning passed through the steam of the tea room before the wrong maid can hear it. The girl you once saw kneeling in cold water now stands behind the concubine's chair, silent, useful, almost invisible, and that is exactly why she becomes dangerous. The concubine is not powerful yet, but she is tired of being forgotten. The washergirl understands this hunger. She does not flatter her. She gives her timing, when to appear in the garden. Which old song the emperor once favored? Which senior maid can be bought with medicine for a sick brother? Which insult should be swallowed today so it can be returned later as evidence? You watch her build an alliance out of things nobody respects: laundry, tea, memory, and silence. One night, she meets you behind the storage room where dried herbs hang from the beams and the air smells of dust, mint, and old wood. People think power begins when someone bows to you, she says. It begins earlier. It begins when someone stronger realizes they need you. You want to ask what she needs from you. Instead, she hands you a folded strip of silk. Take this to the West sewing room. Give it only to the woman with the burned hand. You know enough now to be afraid. If they catch me, she looks at you. And for the first time, there is something almost gentle beneath her calm. Then say, I used you. The answer should comfort you. It does not, because you realize she is already willing to become cruel in the stories people tell, if cruelty keeps the path open. You take the silk anyway. That is the true beginning of your loyalty. Not when you believe she is innocent, but when you understand she is not, and still choose to walk deeper beside her. Level 6 Rising Consort. When the concubine is summoned to the emperor's garden pavilion, for the first time in months, the palace pretends it is an accident. A poem chosen at the right hour, a robe scented with the right oil, a forgotten song played softly enough to feel like memory instead of performance. No one sees the washergirl behind it all, standing in the dressing room with pins between her fingers and silence on her face. You are sent there with hot water and a covered tray, but you stop at the doorway because the room no longer feels like a servant's space. Bronze mirrors catch candlelight. Powder boxes sit open. Hair ornaments gleam like small weapons. The concubine trembles as 3 maids dress her, but the washergirl is calm. She adjusts one sleeve, lowers one hairpin, removes one jewel that looks too desperate. Do not look like you are begging to be remembered, she says. Look as if you expected him to remember. The concubine obeys. That is when you understand the shift. The woman who once cleaned silk now teaches another woman how to become visible. After the emperor's visit, the west chamber changes, more fruit arrives, better incense, softer cushions, smiling servants who once ignored the door. But attention brings teeth. By the next morning, a senior concubine sends a gift, a hair comb carved from white jade. Everyone praises it. The washergirl studies it under the lamp, then wraps it away without using it. Too generous, she says. Too early. Later she tells you to carry it to the medicine room and ask no questions. You do, as she says. By dusk, a rumor spreads that the comb's scent made a junior maid faint. No accusation is made. No name is spoken. But the sender stops smiling for 3 days. You should be frightened by how quickly the washergirl learns this world. Instead, you are frightened by how natural it looks on her. That night, she stands beside the window, dressed now as a close attendant, cleaner, warmer, harder to dismiss. You are changing, you say. She does not deny it. No, she answers, I am becoming expensive to lose. Outside, the palace lanterns glow red along the corridor, and you realize that every step she climbs pulls you farther from the boy who only carried water, and closer to a woman the palace may one day kneel before. Level 7, her cold smile the first time. Another servant lowers her voice when your washergirl enters. You almost do not recognize the feeling. It is not respect yet. Respect has warmth. This is caution, the kind people show to a candle placed too close to silk. She now serves near the rising concubine every day, dressed in cleaner robes, hair pinned neatly, hands no longer raw from freezing water. But you still remember those hands red around wet silk, and that memory makes every new version of her harder to understand. She no longer rushes. She waits. She lets others speak first. She smiles when insulted, then remembers the insult with perfect patience. In the medicine room, under the smell of dried roots and bitter herbs, She shows you a list of names written on the back of an old prescription. These women spread the rumor about the jade comb, she says. This one can be frightened. This one can be bought. This one should be left alone until she betrays herself. You stare at the ink, and the last one. She folds the paper. The last one needs a friend, so she will be given one. That is when you realize how far she has come. She does not only react to danger now, she arranges the room so danger walks where she wants it to. A week later, a maid who once mocked her is accused of stealing perfume from a senior concubine. No one mentions the washer girl. No one can prove anything. But you saw the small box moved from one shelf to another. You saw the glance she gave the wrong witness at the right time. When you confront her in the rain, dark corridor, she listens without anger. She would have destroyed us if she could, she says. She laughed at you. Many people laugh. Not all of them become useful examples. Her voice is calm, almost gentle, and that is what frightens you. You ask whether power is worth becoming this cold. For a moment her face changes, and behind the careful smile, you see the girl from the laundry yard again, tired, hungry, still wet from the basin. If I must become cruel to survive, she whispers, will you still remember who I was before? You want to say yes, but the palace has taught you that promises are easier when no one has tested them. She walks away before you answer, and for the first time you understand that loving her may mean watching her become someone who no longer needs to be saved. Level 8 price of love by now. The palace has begun to understand that she listens to you, not always, not openly, never in a way that can be named, but servants notice patterns before nobles do. A maid sees her pause when your footsteps pass outside the door. A guard notices that messages carried by you are answered faster. A jealous attendant remembers that you knew her when she was still washing silk behind the kitchens. In the palace, affection does not need to be confessed to become evidence. It only needs to be observed. She receives her own small chamber beside the rising concubine's rooms, with red curtains, a bronze mirror, and a lamp that burns through the night. The first time you enter, you see how far she has climbed. The second time, you see how alone she has become. She stands near the window, wearing a robe finer than anything she once washed, but her eyes are tired in the polished metal reflection. They are watching us, she says. You already know, the whispers have changed shape around you. Some say you are her servant, some say you are her weakness. Some say she keeps you close because you know what she used to be. At first, she tries to protect you by using distance. In public, she speaks to you coldly. She corrects you for small mistakes. She lets another servant carry her tray instead of you. Each gesture cuts deeper because you understand its purpose. She is not pushing you away because she feels nothing. She is pushing you away because the palace kills women through the men they care about. One night, in the garden where lantern light trembles over the pond, you ask if she regrets bringing you this far. She looks at the water for a long time. I regret that you can still be used against me. It is not the answer you wanted, but it is the truest one she can give. Then she removes a small thread bracelet from her sleeve, the same faded color as the laundry cloths from the first day, and places it in your palm. Keep this hidden, she says. If anyone sees it, burn it. Her fingers leave yours quickly, too quickly. Somewhere beyond the wall, a watcher shifts in the dark. You both hear it. Neither of you turns. That is the price of love in the palace. You learn to let go before anyone can prove you are holding on. Level 9. Empress's Shadow. The fall of the old Empress begins with silence. No shouted accusation, no public scandal, no blood on the marble steps. Only a missing seal, a delayed medicine record, and 3 noblewomen who suddenly refuse to repeat the story they have told for years. The rising concubine, the woman your washer girl once helped from the edge of being forgotten, is now close enough to power that every smile around her has become a weapon. But behind her, quieter and sharper, stands the girl from the laundry yard. She is no longer called that, of course. Servants now lower their heads and call her lady attendant. Some even whisper that she understands the emperor's moods better than his favored women do. You know the truth is more dangerous. She understands fear. She knows who hides it, who sells it, and who mistakes it for loyalty. On the night before the new imperial appointment is announced, she sends for you to the corridor outside the old Empress's chamber. The air smells of heavy incense and dying candles. Behind the carved doors, powerful women argue in voices, too controlled to be called anger. She hands you a folded record. If this reaches the Queen Mother before dawn, the old Empress loses the last woman protecting her. You look at the seal and feel the weight of every step that brought you here. The kitchen smoke, the cold water, the stained cuff, the first tea tray, the thread bracelet hidden under your robe. And if I refuse? You ask. She looks at you with a face the whole palace has learned to fear. Then you may still leave alive. That is when the old Empress's messenger appears from the shadows. She offers you freedom outside the palace, silver enough to disappear, and a written pardon with your name already prepared. All you have to do is hand over the record and become the knife that cuts your washer girl down before she reaches the throne. For one breath, the choice is almost beautiful. You could live, you could stop watching her turn colder, you could remember her as she was, before power taught her how to smile without mercy. But then you look at her. She does not beg. She does not remind you of love. She only waits because she already knows loyalty means nothing until it has a price. You take the record and walk toward the Queen Mother's hall. Behind you, the woman you love begins her final climb. Ahead of you, the palace prepares to erase anyone who knows how she reached the top. Level 10, the man erased the day she becomes Empress. The palace smells of sandalwood, candle smoke, and fresh paint laid over old blood. Before sunrise, servants polish the stone steps until they reflect the red banners above them. Musicians tune their instruments behind carved screens. Noblewomen arrive in layered silk, smiling as if they have not spent the last month choosing which side of history to stand on. You stand among the lower attendants near the edge of the hall, dressed plainly, hands folded, the thread bracelet hidden beneath your sleeve. No one looks at you for long. That is safer. That is what she needs now. Then the doors open, and she enters wearing the phoenix robe. Gold thread catches the candlelight across her shoulders. Her hair is crowned with ornaments heavy enough to bow another woman's neck, but she walks as if the weight has always belonged to her. The same hands that once twisted wet silk in freezing water now rest calmly before the entire court. Ministers kneel, concubines lower their heads. The old Empress's allies stare at the floor, and you, who saw her first beside a wooden basin, must watch the palace pretend she was always meant to be feared. The Queen Mother reads the decree. Titles fall into place. The rising concubine becomes the new favorite power behind the emperor, but she becomes more than an attendant. She becomes the woman no order can pass without touching. Some will call her Empress's hand. Some will call her the quiet architect. Some will never speak her name unless the door is locked. When the ceremony ends, she passes close enough for you to see the smallest tremor in her fingers. Only you would notice. Only you remember the cold water. For one dangerous second, her eyes meet yours. There is no smile, no softness, no public mercy. She looks at you as if you are a servant she barely knows, and the court believes her. That is how she saves you. That is also how she erases you. By evening, you are reassigned beyond the inner palace, given a new post near the outer records, far from her chamber, far from the women who would use your past to cut her down. No accusation follows you, no reward either. Just distance, clean and final. Before you leave, a small box is placed beneath your sleeping mat. Inside is the faded thread bracelet you gave back through a trusted maid, now wrapped around a strip of white silk from the laundry yard. No note, no farewell, nothing that could condemn her. You sit in the dark and understand the truth. She could never say aloud. She did not betray you because she forgot love. She betrayed you because love, once seen, becomes a weapon in the palace. You began as a kitchen servant carrying water through smoke. You watched a washer girl learn the value of stains, favors, silence, fear, timing, and names. You helped her climb until the whole court bowed to the woman no one used to notice. But history will not write that part. It will remember her as cold, brilliant, dangerous, inevitable. It will forget the boy who saw her hands red from the water, and perhaps that is her final mercy. The palace gave her a throne, but it demanded your place beside her as payment. So you leave with your life, your secret, and the unbearable knowledge that the most feared woman in the empire was once just a girl in the laundry yard, looking at the palace as if she had already decided it would belong to her.